the number of the episode, we're on it today. You know, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 65 of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez. I'm here with Mark and Austin. Josh will probably show up at some point, I assume. I don't know. But first, before we get started, we're going to do our normal NFL week breakdown thing, talk about what we learned from week 3. And what we're looking forward to in week 4. But in the meantime, make sure to like this video, comment on this video, comment on whether or not you think Mark's camera looks better than it normally does, because I think it does.
Please tell me. Like I said, this is, or you know what it might be?
What's that?
I just got my new phone.
Are you using your phone?
Yeah, well, my phone's been my webcam for a long time.
Okay, well then that's probably it. That's probably
it might be better camera quality on the phone.
Yeah, it legitimately looks better. I'm not kidding you.
No, I'm glad.
So never mind. We'll tell Mark that his camera looks better because he got a new phone. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Follow Mark on Twitter at marker_box for Outside the Box Score every Saturday at some point in the morning. I assume he'll be doing it this week. I won't be on it because I will be at the job this Saturday morning. But
yeah, plan is right now to do it. I don't know. I'm going to the SU game with Josh, I'm assuming. So
what time is that at? Is that it?
That's at 5.
It's at 5.
Okay. I don't think he'll be coming in, at 11, but it should be around 11 o'clock on Saturday.
Well, you'll have to coordinate with him, and I'll make sure. I'm working 4 a.m. to noon on Saturday, so I'll be sure to, at some point, get in the lab.
Maybe we'll start at noon. Maybe we'll wait until you get out of work. Who knows?
That would be crazy. So yeah, before we get into the content, and we have an announcement for the show as well, for something that we're doing coming up. A couple things first off jump. All the well wishes to people in Western and Central Florida, the Southern United States. I've got family there myself, and this hurricane is not cool.
Yeah, are they okay?
Yeah. I mean, my dad lives in Miami, or in Fort Lauderdale, so they've been fine. But my aunts, 2 of my aunts live elsewhere. One of them lives in Fort Myers, or in the Fort Myers area, and the other one lives just south of Orlando. So they're doing fine as far as I know.
Okay, good.
But to anybody out there, hope things are going okay, and hope that you all get the help that you need. The other thing being something that's going on right now as we're recording this. We're recording this Thursday night. Thursday Night Football is currently happening. I just wanted to talk for a second about what happened with Tua Tagovailoa right before the end of the first half. So if you weren't watching, he got thrown to the ground in a tackle, not at all like a dirty move or anything like that. It happens, that kind of a thing. But it was the situation where his head hit the ground and he immediately, his body started like convulsing, and he did what is called in neuroscience basically the fencing response, which his hands went out like this. Scary sight. He's at the hospital now. They say that all of his extremities are moving fine, which is good. But more so than that, over the next couple of days, it's going to be on the media in a large part to do a couple of things. First of all, to be asking the questions as to why he was playing tonight in the first place. For proper context, he suffered a similar hit Sunday against Buffalo, a hit in which immediately afterwards he stumbled off the field, even falling to the ground before getting himself back up. A move that prompted the NFL to start investigating the Dolphins' handling of their concussion protocol. But a move that investigation itself should be called into question, considering the fact that it wasn't hastened at all. given the Dolphins were turning around and playing 4 games later. And it's also, I think, on the job of the media to ask questions about themselves, because it's not like the Dolphins or the league or anything has been transparent this week. I mean, Tua was listed as having a back injury throughout practice this week. And most people that I saw covering the sport never questioned it, never asked any questions about what the back injury came from, how he was dealing with it, never followed up on whether or not he was in concussion protocol this week, which he should have been and apparently was not. So there's questions to be asked there, but more importantly, there is going to need to be serious repercussions for not, I mean, the league won't face anything, but there should be serious repercussions all the way from the top to the bottom, from the league to the Players Association on behalf of this investigation, to the Dolphins for their handling of this, and that goes from ownership down to the coaching staff, because they all knew the situation and didn't say a fucking word about it. The NFL should be ashamed of the way that they've handled this over the last couple of days, specifically with the way that they've handled this investigation and how it didn't sense any sort of urgency, given there was a 3-day turnaround between when when this first major head injury came in and when a potential second one was going to come in. The Dolphins coaching staff should be answering serious questions over the next few days, moving forward this season, as to whether or not he should have even been back in the game against Buffalo, let alone playing in another game 3 days later with 3 days of rest, I should say. Yeah. And Dolphins management. I mean, how many times do we have to go on record talking about Dolphins management and malpractice? We can run down the list if you really want to. We have everything that they did when they handling the Richie Incognito situation almost a decade ago. You have the Brian Flores lawsuit. You have the tampering that was found by league office between them and Tom Brady a couple years ago. You have everything that's transpired with the way they've handled Tua over the last couple years. I mean, his rookie year, pulling him in the middle of games and being wishy-washy with the guy that you drafted as a top 5 pick, leading up to this, where you finally give him the keys, right? You finally release it to him. You finally build a roster around him, and then you handle a serious brain injury, which is I can see the response now on the internet. Ooh, it wasn't that serious. He came out and played the second half. Any sort of concussive injury is in the medical community considered a serious brain injury. Brain trauma, period, should be treated as seriously as humanly possible. This is the kind of hit. I'm glad that he seems to be okay so far. This is the kind of sequence between Sunday and today that could have ended his career like that at 23 years old or whatever, because of the way that everyone around him has handled
it. It's a shit. I couldn't believe he actually played tonight. And listen, I've had 3 concussions, and because of the first one, even if it's slightly overcast, I still have to wear sunglasses outside, because if I don't, then I will have the worst like, people who get migraines try having a concussion migraine. Like, it is debilitating on a day-to-day basis, just from one of the concussions I've had. I've had 3. They're brutal. Hello, Josh. The fact that
Hi, Josh's forehead. What's up?
The fact that they played him in the second half on Sunday is inexcusable. The fact that he played tonight is even more inexcusable. This was a horrific situation for Tua to be put in. It's a horrible thing to have to deal with, our concussions. And yeah, the people, and I know he cleared concussion protocol, which I don't buy for a second. And there are going to be people hearing me say this that say, oh, you play football and you know, whatever. Yeah, I didn't play football. Oh, I got my concussions playing volleyball and baseball.
Like a real idiot.
I'll happily admit how I got my concussions. They're brutal. They're horrible. They said my first concussion, which is the one that I still feel effects from, was 6 years ago. I feel effects from an injury I got 6 years ago. And that's just a fraction of what Tua might be feeling right now. So,
yeah,
they're horrible. He shouldn't have played tonight. He shouldn't have played the second half on Sunday. Inexcusable. Hopefully, Tua is okay. Like, even when I saw the hit, which, like you said, Nunez, was a clean hit, nothing dirty about it. It was just a clean tackle. I cringed as soon as I saw it. Because that, for anyone who's had any sort of head, neck, brain injury, or even back like they said it was, even if it was just your run-of-the-mill back injury, that's the type of tackle that puts you on injured reserve.
I'm sorry. The I don't know if you saw, but the catch that Tyreek Hill just made on a ball that was severely underthrown by Teddy Bridgewater was sexy.
The only TV I'd be able to have it on right now is the one directly behind me, and I don't. So
I'm somehow way behind you.
Oh, okay.
I'm also streaming on Prime.
Teddy just aired it out, and I mean, he underthrew it, and Tyreek had to bobble it through a defender and caught it or whatever. It was pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, as much as the NFL has tried to make player safety and head trauma like their thing over the last decade or so, and as much good as they've done to try and make the game as safe as possible, they
do a bad job.
I mean, largely the league has done good things on that front.
Largely, yeah, they still miss too many.
Right. And this is an instance where, again, it's a failure from the top down, that not only was the situation not treated with the severity that it should have been, again, in any level, concussive injuries and brain trauma should be treated as seriously as possible. But the lack of transparency from the league, from the Players Association, from the Dolphins themselves, top to bottom, is frankly disgusting, honestly. And also, this should be a learning experience for any new people who are on the staff here in Prime Video. Shame on them as well for continuing to show the replay of Tua laying motionless on the ground over and over and over and over again.
That's some like 2007 shit. Like back when they used to show injuries constantly and just continue replaying. That was horrible.
I've lived through enough gruesome injuries in sports and seen enough people handle it properly that it sticks out when it's shown improperly on television. And that was an instance tonight. I
didn't see it live, but I came back and saw it. I will not stand for the Mike McDaniel slander show here. How is this not just a freak thing? Like, anyone who gets tackled like that could come up. I mean, sure.
No. This was 4 days after another injury.
4 days after another injury.
He got his head driven into the ground. He came up like, I feel like this could happen to anybody. The fact that it happened is just coincidental after last week to me. I don't know how these
even if it is coincidental, what it can do as a layering effect is bar none way worse.
Yeah. He shouldn't have played tonight.
They wanted to play.
He shouldn't have played.
Doesn't matter if he wants to play. Regardless, what I don't understand during the week was we didn't hear anything about the back injury that he couldn't walk with the day prior.
Well, they shot him up.
I don't think that back injury was real because he couldn't walk. He was stumbling. So if the back injury was the problem, how is it possible he recovered in 3 days and was perfectly fine? You don't recover from back injuries that debilitate you from walking that quickly. That's insanity.
You also don't recover from a hit like that without entering concussion protocol at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Without any semblance of even trying to go through due process about the injury
Also,
in the game on Sunday and also following the game on Sunday.
I'm sorry to change the subject. Josh, why are we only looking at the top half of your face?
Are you serious? You can't see my whole face?
No.
Not really.
Are you holding your phone right here?
No, I mean on my camera right now in my little thing, I see all of it. I see from like my chest down here up.
Oh yeah, no, it looks pretty zoomed in. Yeah.
You are very close. That's your
Look at
chest. That is the bottom.
That's
half
now
of your face.
that's
That's
now
your
like
chest.
nose to nipple. Yeah.
What? Dude, if I could take a picture and show you, I see my entire face from head to here. Like,
Yeah, no, if you hold it right there, it's hairline to chin. It's a perfect close up. Yeah.
Not even the full chin. Part of the chin.
Okay, well, we have to move on here. And before we get into the actual content of the day, we have a couple of housekeeping things that we didn't get to at the top of the show. First of all, Fanduel related, for week 3, Austin once again didn't do a lineup last week, so he got the points for last place. But beyond that, here are the scores. Mark finished in first with 111.72 points. Josh finished in second with 97.52 points. And I finished in third, once again, with 87.4 points, because I suck, apparently. So we'll get into our week 4 lineups at the end of the show, but that's the update for after week 3.
I didn't even check it. I had no idea I finished in first. Usually I check. This is great news.
Mark finished in first this last week. So through 3 weeks, Mark and Josh are tied with 10 total points. We're doing this like Olympic scoring, where first place is 4 points, second place is 3rd points. You get what I'm saying. Mark and Josh are tied with 10 points. I have 6 points, and Austin has 4 points through 3 weeks. So, yeah. Anyways, we have an announcement to make for the show. Some content stuff that we're doing for this upcoming month, because it's October, which means that it's time to watch horror movies. And I thought it would be fun to do something movie related for this podcast like we do ever so occasionally. And this time we're going to do some horror movie related content. So I put together a list, and I'll share my screen real quick. I put together a list of 15. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Of 15 horror films. You can see the list right here, and we'll go through it in a second. That I don't know. I mean, Mark and I are going to be participating in it. Josh said he will quote attempt.
I will try my hardest.
I have Hulu and HBO.
Austin, don't worry. If you want to do it, I can provide logins for all of these streaming services.
Okay.
So anyways, we have 50. What'd you say, Josh?
I'm going to try my damnedest. I also am a little scaredy boy.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So what we're going to do is the 4 of us at least are going to try to watch these 15 films by the end of October. And then hopefully have it out on Halloween. So we're really going to try and watch them by like October 28th or so we can record the episode and have it out for Halloween. We're going to talk about these 15 movies, and then we're going to rank them. We're going to rank them from favorite to least favorite. And I put together this list over the last few days, trying to cover as many bases as humanly possible. And I did have a couple of rules, one of which was broken anyways. And that the couple of rules were that I didn't want any of them to be movies that I had seen. Mark, you just went dark. Then you're back. Any movies that I had seen personally. That was rule number 1, because I wanted it to be a fresh experience for the 4 of us. And then the other rule was that I wanted them all to be easily streamable, so we didn't have to go around like paying to rent all of these movies. So all 15 of these films are available on streaming services. Like I said to you guys, if you need logins for stuff, I can provide. Mark is frozen as well. So here's the list. They're ranked right now. They're listed right now in chronological order of release dates. So we go back to the 70s. We have, give me 1 second to plug my computer. There we go. Go back to the 70s. We have a slasher classic in Bob Clark's Black Christmas. We have an entry from the master of European horror, Dario Argento, in Suspiria from 1977. We are going through a little bit of Cronenbergian body horror exploration here with 1979's The Brood. We have a couple of the 80s is almost an exercise in camp and an exercise in ridiculousness, because the 4 films that I have chosen from the 80s are all absurd. We have Pieces, which is a slasher-ish film that was recommended to me by my father when I asked him about stuff for this list. Upon research on it has a pretty interesting story behind its production, and was one of the originators of like gore cinema. So apparently the movie is like really violent and really gory. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Then is a cult classic slasher in Sleepaway Camp from 1983. We have our entry from Trauma Entertainment, spearheaded by Lloyd Kaufman, known for making some of the worst and most ridiculous movies of all time. Originally, we were going to include The Toxic Avenger on here instead, but Mark had already seen it, so we decided to go with a different trauma film from that same year called The Class of Nukem High, which is a movie about high schoolers who go to high school about a mile from a nuclear power plant, and they turned into deformed creature things. Then we have a movie called House, which is another 80s slasher upon recommendation from my mother. Then we get into the 21st century. Another international entry, one of the early films of Guillermo del Toro in The Devil's Backbone. We want some fun, some gothic horror, action kind of stuff here. So we went with 2004's Van Helsing. Then we're covering claustrophobia horror in The Descent from 2005. And then in the entries from the 2010s, we have a couple of different interesting things to look at here. You're Next, in the sense that it has both become very quickly a modern classic of horror and also a neo slasher, a new age slasher that we hadn't quite had that base covered yet. We have Bloodline from 2018, which is a horror turn from comedian Sean William Scott. So I wanted to get a little bit actors doing roles outside of their genre in here. It's from 2018. And then we have One Cut of the Dead from Shinichiro Ueda, which is our zombie film entry. This seems to be, from what I understand about the movie, it's a little meta, a little fun, about a film crew who's filming a zombie movie and then zombies actually come. I've heard it's good, so we're gonna watch that. And then we have Censor, which is directed by Prano Bailey Bond, which is our entry in terms of 21st century new wave horror directed by women. I thought it was important to get a film directed by a woman, specifically about women, to be in here, because it's been a very influential wave in horror in the 21st century. And then finally, we have animated horror in Mad God, a stop motion film directed by Phil Tippett, who you may know as the visual effects coordinators on the Star Wars films from back in the 70s. So Phil Tippett directing a stop motion horror film in Mad God. So those are the 15. I'm going to tweet it. So make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod so you can see that. And like I said, we're going to watch them. We're going to have some fun. Mark, I can't see you.
Okay. I was about to ask if you guys could see me.
No.
Negative.
No, we cannot.
I will be right back.
Okay. So those are the 15. And I'm excited because this is 15 horror films. Like I said, I have not seen. I have seen the one that broke the rule is that I have seen Van Helsing, but it's been years, probably almost a decade since I've seen it. So I don't remember much about it, and I just wanted something a little more fun. Hugh Jackman's in it. He stars as the titular Van Helsing, trying to hunt some vampires. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so join us on that. Tell us what your favorites are. Josh looks like he's falling asleep on camera, by the way. We're having a great time.
Not doing that again.
So yeah,
I
those
hate
are
the fact that
movies.
you had to say again.
Those are the movies. We hope you watch them, and we will be talking about them in due time. Moving forward, let's talk about week 3 in the NFL. Does anybody have any burning observations that they gleaned from this past week in the National Football League?
Josh, go ahead and tell us why Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott.
I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm not gonna do that.
It kills him not to.
It's okay. I met up with some Cowboys fans in my program tonight, and it just comes up. That's what you got to talk about right now. And like the one guy was like, "Yeah, dude, it's rush hour. Like he's taking over." Dak, like he was totally doing me, and I'm like, maybe. I'm like the bit. I'd like to think some of it's a bit that I do, but like, it's not in most people's mind. Like some people are just like, like he was legit. Like, yeah, dude, like we're dump him, and I was like, right, but we're also like invested for $200 million. So that's kind of important. And it was like, yeah, but I mean, you can get around that. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
You can get around
I get
that.
it. It's been 3 games, but okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I gotta run it back. I think it's gone too far. I think the bid's gone too far. But he is great. He's played really well. And the thing I posted in the chat the other day that he has a really nice deep ball. I mean, the disrespect he gets from his receivers. I feel like it's almost one of those things where like they just don't expect it to be there. Like that's totally what happened. I feel like on that CD pass that they kept throwing that he dropped, it was just right in his breadbasket, and he just threw his hands. And it's like it's got to be something where it's like, white boy not gonna hit me like that. Like you just can't, imagine that. I don't know.
Well, and we talked about it too during the game last week, or maybe it was the Cincinnati game in week 2. That like part of the reason that like this overreaction could be happening, because I do think it's an overreaction on a part of a lot of Cowboys fans. Like, oh
Jerry
yeah, man, it's and on it is like, oh yeah, it's rush hour, man. Dump Dak or whatever. Is that like it's just refusing to acknowledge like any of the circumstances surrounding it, partially in that like in hindsight, I think the Bucs might just have the best defense in football. So when you go from that game in which Dak played poorly to then a game against the Bengals whose defense hasn't been fantastic and a Giants defense that's been awful, like yeah, inherently the quarterback play is going to look better. Like I'm certain that Dak would have played better given full games against both of those defenses. And also, I think what an interesting nugget that we talked about was the change in coaching once Cooper Rush came in. Because I think Kellen Moore kind of assumes that he just has to let Dak be Superman so he doesn't have to like scheme guys open and whatnot. Because like all he's done with Cooper Rush is run like really basically a really simple play action offense, and it's been working. And I hope at least that he's learning that that's probably something that he should just integrate into his normal weekly game plan, as opposed to just dumbing it down for the backup, basically. Because I think we've basically run into like a Goldilocks situation, right? Where like running this offense the entire time probably won't bear fruitful results, but also going the opposite and just like giving the ball to Dak and saying, fuck it, deal with whatever you got, probably also won't do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Kellen Moore thing, there's a clip that surfaced too of like they were second and goal, looking to punch it in the, I think it was in the second or half or something maybe, and they ran the ball like second and goal like 10 bases, like 9 yards ago, and Zach Martin's just yelling over like enough of that shit, like run a different play, like it was a great little clip, and I'm like, yeah, dude, it's so stagnant sometimes. I think that happens in all coaching, but like, I don't know. He is not the mastermind that people thought he was. He's
Could
just
have
a
been
guy
Ken
who got
Dorsey.
super. Huh?
Said he could have been Ken Dorsey.
I like a guy with passion. I mean, I think it's just like when people get into those jobs the first year or something, and they're just like, "Ooh, I get an offense, so I'll just
Matt
call
Nagy.
every crazy play I've ever imagined," and then they're like, "Oh, that worked. Okay, well now I got to keep my job," and then they just completely backtrack. I don't know.
Yeah.
Enough of my garbage take.
Well, see, that kind of segues into, guess what I'll talk about, and that'll be our weekly Denver Broncos conversation. In that, I think this past week, we've finally seen the issues here, because actually, in looking back at the Broncos' first 3 games, week 1 didn't really go that poorly in hindsight, because again, we maintain that, or I maintain at least, they moved the ball really well on who the hell did they play week 1? They played Seattle.
Yeah.
They moved the ball on Seattle really well. If they don't fumble twice in the red zone, they win that game, and probably pretty handily. But since then, the almost immediate degradation of the Broncos offense is staggering. And I'm going to be honest with you, from watching this past Sunday night game, I think it's like 95% on Nathaniel Hackett's play calling. If I watch them throw another like running back swing pass on 3rd and 9, if I watch them dial up another check down behind the line of scrimmage on 2nd and long or 3rd and long, I might have an aneurysm. We want to talk about stale. They were playing one of the best defenses in football this past week in the 49ers, and downright refused to make any sort of changes to their offense over the course of 60 minutes.
I don't remember if we were on the break from the show when Hackett got hired.
Yeah, probably.
I have been maintaining ever since that hire. That was a horrible hire by the Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett was the OC at Syracuse. I am very familiar with Nathaniel Hackett. Too familiar. He stinks. He was a bad OC at Syracuse. He was a bad OC at Jacksonville. He was a bad OC at Buffalo. Then all of a sudden he was gifted this guy. Maybe you've heard of him, named Aaron Rodgers, to be the quarterback for the team he was the OC for.
I believe he was just the quarterback's coach. Or was he the OC?
Maybe he was just the QB coach.
I'm sorry. The Bears offensive coordinator was the quarterback's coach from the Packers last year. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So Hackett was the OC for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I'm sorry. How fucking hard can that be? Like, legitimately, this guy, in terms of NFL coaching hires, I said it at the time it was a joke. Like, I hate Josh McDaniels. I have this unreasonable hate for him. I don't think he's very good as an OC.
And guess what? We're going to have the two of them matching up this week.
Yeah, and I'm not going to watch a snap of that game.
I might, because that game might be a tire fire.
But I said it as soon as he was hired. I went on radio. It was either that day or the very next day and said, this is a horrible hire. They have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's funny to me that, like, you know, because of the clock management kerfuffles in week 1, like, he was already rocketing up the list of dumbest coaches in NFL history. And, like, the play calling I'll say the play calling in the last 2 games, even though the clock management has gotten better, the play calling in the last 2 games
not nearly enough
has just continued his rise on the list of dumbest coaches in NFL history. It's honestly just funny to watch at this point.
They didn't send out a punt returner. That was a thing they did. They got a delay of game because he forgot to tell whatever guy it was that he was going to return the punt. I've never seen a rookie head coach with so many fireable offenses in his first 3 weeks of coaching.
No, that's a lie. You saw Urban Meyer try to hire a guy with a domestic violence case like 3 weeks after he got hired.
If the only coach we can compare him to is Urban Meyer, there's a problem.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad.
As much as I insisted same thing that Urban Meyer would be a terrible NFL head coach, at least I was like, okay, this guy is one of the best college coaches of all time. Like, you can give him a chance, despite the fact he's a horrible person and a terrible coach. It's like, at least you give him the chance. Nathaniel Hackett, in my opinion, has proven absolutely nothing.
I mean,
legitimately.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
absolutely
very
nothing.
fair.
At least Urban Meyer proved something at the college level. It's a different level, but he proved it. Nathaniel Hackett has shown nothing to say that he would be a good NFL head coach. Who is John Elway still running the Broncos? Because if so,
No,
he should be shot. Okay.
He is not anymore.
So whoever is running that team now is somehow just as bad as John Elway and also should be shot.
No. If John Elway was still running the team, their quarterback would be 6'9".
That's
and
true.
white.
Their quarterback would somehow be Aaron Bates. But
they bring Tyree Jackson back and convert him back into a quarterback.
I canceled, move that organization, move them somewhere else. The Broncos are an absolute joke. I'm sorry. I'm tired of that team being a thing. I'm tired of whoever runs that team. Absolute joke.
No. Don't move them. Just fire everyone.
All right, fine. They can be an XFL team. That's fine.
No, they can be the Denver Broncos. The NFL benefits with the Denver Broncos being around, just not the people that are involved in it right now.
A horrible organization. Just horrible. Nothing serious about them. So John Elway got all this credit because he signed Peyton Manning.
Yeah, no, John Elway got a decade of grace in drafting Brock Osweiler's and Trevor Simeon's because Peyton Manning fell into his lap.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for many moons on this podcast.
Ridiculous.
Peyton Manning fell into his lap, had one of the best seasons in NFL history, and then followed it up by sucking the horn on the way to being carried to a championship. And John Elway reaped all the benefits from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they got Trevor Simeon and Drew Lock.
Horrendous team. I hate.
They got a cup of coffee out of Joe Flacco. They got a cup of coffee.
How do the people feel now when I said my best bet of the year was the Broncos under 9.5 or 10.5? I think it was 10.5.
10.5.
Yeah, every team in that division was over 10 for their season.
Not good because they're 2-1.
Okay, so we're the New York
3-0.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about 2-1 teams, I can complain about how the Bears coaching staff is insisting on doing the thing wrong this year because they're actually failing on both fronts. They're refusing to accept that it's not 1942 anymore, and
so much.
Dude, I'll send you this graph that I got sent the other day of teams' pass attempts per game.
I was about to ask if it was the least amount of pass attempts without even knowing.
It's the least amount of pass attempts per game, or total pass attempts through 3 games by a mile in the last 40 seasons.
Pretty sure that Justin Fields ranked 34th in pass attempts for all quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Love a starter outside of the top 30.
It was after week 2 too. He was still 33rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sent it to you guys.
Cooper Rush hit more than him in 1 week of play.
But also the problem is that it's working. The bigger problem is that like their defense is better than it was expected to be, which just means that like they're 2-1 now. Like, so not only are they not developing Justin Fields at all, they're also playing themselves out of a top 5 pick. So pain,
Horrible.
and suffering, pain and suffering.
I can't wait for the Bears to go 7-10 somehow.
Dude, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so fucking mad. They're lucky that their schedule gets a lot harder moving forward, I think. Well, I say that they play the Giants this week. And I'm sorry, that's the 3-0 New York Giants to you, all right?
Are they 3-0? I thought they were 2-1.
The Cowboys won last week.
Yeah, Cowboys won. Yeah.
Who's the other undefeated team? The Eagles.
Eagles. Yeah.
The Eagles. Yeah, I'm sorry. They play the Giants this week, so it's not getting too much harder. But they got the Giants. Oh, never mind. The Bears' next 4 games are the Giants, the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Patriots.
The Bears are going to find a way to go 10-7. Never mind.
There is a legitimate chance they go 3-1 in their next 4 games. I hate that. I hate that. I don't like that at all. Actually. But anyways, anybody else got any burning takeaways from week 3?
I just have a burning question. Now, obviously, given all the things we said earlier, this all depends on Tua's health.
No.
Are the Dolphins just much better than I thought they were?
Yeah, probably.
Like, that was not a good game by the Bills. I'm not going to sit here and say it was. They're ravaged by injuries. That was, like, honestly a nightmare matchup for the Bills that week because of how decimated their secondary was and all that stuff. Like, it's still even if Tua gets out of the hospital tonight and they're like, oh, he just had, like, he just blacked out for a second.
Raheem Mostert! Sorry.
Was there a touchdown?
No, he just had like a 20-yard run.
But even if by chance of miracle, Tua is just perfectly okay and it just rattled his cage and he's going to be fine, which I don't think is the case. Are the Dolphins that legit?
I have real questions about their offensive line, honestly. The fact that they haven't up until this moment, in which I don't know if I didn't give you guys the stat earlier. I don't know if DJ Reader's playing tonight for the Bengals. But if he's not,
had surgery, he'll be out 6 weeks, I think.
Okay. So last week against the Commanders, he played roughly one half of football last week. So in the first half against the Commanders, the Bengals run defense allowed like 2 yards per carry. And in the second, what do you get? What, Josh?
The Jets.
Sorry. They allowed like 2 yards per carry in the first half, and the second half, after DJ Reader went out, they allowed roughly 6 yards per carry. So the question was whether or not Miami was going to be able to run the football on this defense. And it's been okay so far. But my point being, I have legitimate questions about their offensive line. It still hasn't been very good. And it's not, I don't think it's bad in the same kind of like context that like the Bengals offensive line has been bad. Like I think they're 2 different scenarios, which I think Miami's offensive line isn't very good because they didn't really do much to address it aside from signing Teron Armstead. I think the Bengals offensive line isn't good because they're bringing in a bunch of new starters and they haven't played much football together. Like I expect my point being is like I expect the Bengals offensive line to get better over the course of the season. I don't know how much better the Dolphins offensive line gets on purely a talent cohesion level because it's largely the same group from last year. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. That being said, if you're a team that has this much speed and this much athleticism in your skill position players, and this much speed and aggression on their defense, because they've this is the one thing they've carried over from the Brian Flores era, is that they lie around the field on defense. They have legitimate playmakers at every level. Then then that basically comes down to two things. It comes down to your offensive line holding up, and it comes down to your young quarterback playing good football. And in reality, Tua, out of his first 3 games, played probably 1 full game of legitimately very good football.
The Ravens game was unbelievable.
I was to say, it was the Ravens game, but that was also mostly condensed to the fourth quarter. Yeah. It's been like bits and spurts here.
But that's just one of those lines when you look at it at the end of the game, and it's like, wait, Tua threw for 460 and 6?
Sure. But you look at the New England game in particular, and I think if he had played better, that game would not have been close. And the Buffalo game the Buffalo game was honestly strange. It was a strange football.
It was a really weird. There was a butt punt.
There was a butt punt. That is one of the all-time meme plays in NFL history. Now we have the butt safety.
That still of the football approximately halfway up the guy's ass. Give him a Pulitzer, give him whatever you give to photographers for taking pictures. Unbelievable.
We have the butt punt now. But so I don't know. I actually, in some ways, kind of see the Dolphins' outlook now in the same way that I saw, in a similar way, I'll say, that I saw San Francisco's outlook with Trey Lance. I think that, because I think that San Francisco's defense is better, but I think Miami's offense, conversely, is better and more talented than San Francisco's was with Trey Lance. But in the same, the way I see the 49ers now is, I think with Jimmy Garoppolo, they're more likely to get to an NFC championship. He's done it twice now. He's been to a Super Bowl. It's not like he hasn't done it before. They might be more likely to get to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I thought with Trey Lance that they were more likely to win the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Even if that comes with a far lower floor. So I think the jury's still a little bit out on what we'll see from the Dolphins for the entire year. It's been a very promising start. But we will have to see how that develops over the course of, I guess, a larger sample size, because there's holes I think you can pick in all 3 of their wins. In that, against the Patriots, the Patriots aren't very talented this year, and Tua didn't play particularly well, even though they got the win. Against the Ravens, it's the Ravens might just have a bottom tier defense in the NFL.
It's horrible. Their defense stinks.
Which is not something I could have predicted coming into the season.
The past 30 years, you would never expect it from the Ravens.
Right. So there's that. They the Ravens might just have one of the worst pass defenses in football. That's a distinct possibility. And the Buffalo game was a good win, but it was largely mostly an effort on behalf of the defense, who was on the field for 92 snaps last week.
The Bills doubled them up in time of possession, correct?
The Bills had the ball for over 40 minutes last week. That's a largely defensive effort on that way.
The Bills need to shut the fuck up with the excuses about the injuries. Their monster offense, it's so scary and so bad and so good, blah blah blah. There were no injuries going into that game for that offense. Gabe Davis was playing banged up, but they were good to go. And guess what? They put up 17 on a mid-tier defense. No excuses.
None of us even brought up that, actually.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Dolphins defense playing well.
And
Mark said with all the excuses, this and that.
I said with all the injuries on their defense. They didn't have a defense last week.
Even then, dude, who
They had like
cares?
6 injuries on the defense. I didn't mention anything about
They
the offense.
did have 500 total yards. Let's not pretend like their offense played poorly.
Yeah, I didn't. Josh Allen had 400
Josh
passing
Allen,
yards.
I think.
Yeah, let it be known that if this weren't the Bills, Josh wouldn't have this tone. Let's
No.
put that
17 points.
very
I mean,
clear.
19. But yes,
Their offense put up
a
17.
safety.
That's true.
The butt
The
safety,
offense
man.
did put up
Oh, well,
17 points. Yeah.
Sorry, no, the offense put up. Well, you can't count a kicker as offense. So, sorry, the offense put up 12. Now let's get down to semantics.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
Austin, do you have anything? Or should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, football's weird. The Colts looked like one of the worst teams in the NFL the first 2 weeks and come out and played a decent game against the team that looked unstoppable the first 2 weeks. I mean, that was
Hashtag
pretty
football
interesting.
is weird. I think that's what we
I
take away.
still don't buy the Colts, to be honest, but that was a pretty interesting win.
Hashtag rigged.
Yeah. Football is back when people are bringing out the I said this to a couple people a couple weeks ago. I forgot what it was about, what game it was about, but I was like, football is back when you see a bet of yours crumbling and your only response is the game's rigged, man.
Yep.
Football's back, baby.
I love the because it's rigged. That makes no sense. The line started at 5.5.
Yeah, and you know what's fun? Sports are weird. Things happen.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Improbable things happen literally all the time.
I don't buy it.
Are we buying into Shady McCoy just blasting Eric Bieniemy?
I didn't see that.
Did you guys see that?
No.
Shady McCoy on Twitter was like, this man knows nothing about actually running an offense. He just has Patrick Mahomes.
He knows about running a car into a person. Was that him?
No, that was Andy Reid's son.
Yeah.
He knows.
Also, Eric Bieniemy was there before Pat Mahomes was, correct?
I believe.
Was he also the offensive coordinator during the Alex Smith years?
Yeah,
Give me one
that's what I
second.
thought.
But yeah, Shady McCoy went on Twitter just blasting Eric Bieniemy. He was like, this man knows nothing about play calling. He knows nothing about running an offense.
I think he knows something.
Yeah, Eric Bieniemy has been on the staff since 2013.
Here's I'm not saying I believe Shady. The play calling in the red zone for the Chiefs last week was abysmal.
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah. It was awful.
It was horrible. And so that's where I was like, maybe he just has Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. Like, obviously, Eric Bieniemy has been very successful at this level in terms of running offenses. Like, he is the opposite of Nathaniel Hackett. Hackett proved nothing to be a head coach.
Nathaniel can't hack it. Am I right, everybody?
There's a show I listen to. They call him Hindsight Hackett because every Tuesday he's like, "Yeah, I should have done this better." But Eric Bieniemy has had incredible success at this level. At the same time, I was watching that game and I was like, "What the fuck is going on with the Chiefs?"
You're like, "Yeah, this is bad."
It was horrible. The play calling was abysmal. And maybe it was just, okay, we're playing the Colts. The Colts aren't good. Let's try to get tricky. But that worried me, man. Like, in terms of, picking I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl on this show before the season. And that's the type of play calling that I know it's week 3, but I was like, what is going on here? All of a sudden, everything went from sunshine and rainbows to hell very quickly.
All right. We are going to move on here. Sorry, I'm typing at the same time. And talk about week 4 through the eyes of the betting slate. So if you fellas have any bets that you like this week, any games that you're targeting, that you're looking at for a little bit of action this week, please do step forward and give them. Give me one second. I just got a notification that someone died. Gavin Escobar former Cowboys tight end. That is very sad. He said that he had a rock climbing accident. He passed away. That is very sad. Rest in peace, Gavin Escobar.
He's dead?
Yeah. That's what I led with, actually, is that he died. But yeah, that is a very unfortunate thing to happen. And it's also very silly for me to just be like, oh, yeah, that's unfortunate in the middle of us recording a podcast. But, we get that.
Talk about it being unfortunate that tonight I'm making fun with the Syracuse athletic director. And he goes, he made some lewd comment.
You were hanging out with Johnny Wildhack?
He was one of the speakers tonight, yeah. And he made a comment, or actually, was it him or me? I don't want to pin it on him because this was a wild thing to say. No, it had to have been. He was like, yeah, we'll be in the Dome tomorrow. Yeah, Dome, it's real nice no matter what. It's nice weather, Could be in a hurricane or something like that. And I was just like,
that's awful.
That wouldn't surprise me coming from Wildhack. That guy's a fucking moron.
The guy next to me, he's from Orlando. His flight got canceled a day ago. Drove up, a tree went through his house and it's flooded. And he comes, if he could be in a hurricane. I look around, I'm like, oh my god.
All right.
Wildhack's an idiot. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Does anybody want to lead with any particular bets that they might be looking at this week?
I got one.
Okay.
I know what Mark's going to say.
What am I going to say, Josh?
You're going to go Kentucky +7.
No, we're talking about the NFL.
No, we're talking about the NFL.
God.
Saturday morning is when we talk about everything else. You should know this. You're the co-host of the show.
I've never heard of that show.
Outside the Box Score. Twitter Spaces every Saturday.
Yeah,
Josh, are you going to...
Because I've never heard of that show.
No can do. I'm in Syracuse.
But when are you coming to Syracuse?
I'm there all day.
When are you coming? It's a simple question.
Hey, can we not do this on the show? Can we do this afterwards? We're in the middle of recording something. Mark, what's your fucking bet?
It's the Chiefs. They're an underdog against the Buccaneers. Chiefs are +1 right now. It's -102 on the money line on Fanduel. DraftKings won't let me log in right now for whatever reason. So the Chiefs right now are a dog. I'm taking the Chiefs. I really like this. As much as I just said about their horrendous play calling, that's not going to happen back-to-back weeks. Who knows what the Buccaneers are going to have on offense?
I actually like, this is a counter argument to you. I actually like the under in this game.
Well, under is fair. Over
currently sitting at 46. Like I mentioned, I think the Bucs arguably have the best defense in football right now, and conversely on the offensive side, they're still rocking without their weapons. Mike Evans will be back this week, though. That is
okay. So Evans is back.
Yeah, he was only suspended for one game. He's back. He's good.
Oh, that's right. It was a suspension, not an injury.
Yeah.
But
so Mike Evans will be in, but. I can see this being a 21-18, 21-17, 21-20 kind of game.
Yeah.
24-20.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And whenever I see Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, I'll take it.
I will say on DraftKings, they are the slight favorite at -115.
Okay, so it's -115 on DraftKings.
Yeah, -115 Kansas City, Tampa Bay -105. The game's a pick 'em.
Yeah, so on FanDuel right now, it's -102 Kansas City, -116 Tampa Bay.
I see.
So it's flipped. So if you can get the Chiefs as a dog, I would take that. Just take the money line. Honestly, and if I can just throw another one in there, the Rams are +104 on FanDuel right now against the 49ers. I think the 49ers stink, dude.
What reason do you have to think they stink?
I always think they stink, and then they make the Super Bowl. This is my thing. I've never thought the 49ers were good.
And every year they just prove you wrong on an anomaly? Is that what it is?
Yep, every year. It's just something
Tampa
happens.
Bay Rays-esque.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think it's the Tampa Bay Rays syndrome. Because the Niners have good players at every level.
The 49ers are my Rays. That's what it is. I always think that
the Rays have no reason to be good, truly.
Neither
they
do
just
the
pull
49ers.
guys.
They have a bad quarterback.
They have an average quarterback.
They have a bad quarterback.
No, that's not true. They have an average quarterback, and that can get you very far when you have a great roster surrounding him.
I mean,
I'm out on the 49ers. Give me the Rams.
I'm kind of with Mark, to be honest, but I don't even think they have a great offense. I actually don't know a single offensive skill player that I like on that team outside of Kittle. And Kittle's hurt. I don't like Debo. Ayuk's fine.
You can not like them. That's fine. But
I don't think they're good.
My thing
all
is,
they've done in their careers is show you the contrary.
Well, my entire
you cannot like them, but
my entire feeling on the 49ers
is one of the best wide receivers in football.
When he runs the ball, he had a season like that's my thing with Debo. He had a season where he was just a receiver and he was fine. I don't know how great he is.
Yeah, that was his rookie year, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't know how great he is as a straight-up receiver. That's my feeling.
He's got a career 15.2 yards per reception. He led the league in yards per reception last year.
I'm not
1,400 receiving yards last year.
I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just saying my feeling on Debo Samuel.
I'm like, give me all the stats. I don't even care.
I'm more with Josh, and I never agree with Josh because most of the time I think he's a moron. This is the one thing I would agree with Josh with. As a straight up regular receiver, I don't know how good Debo Samuel is.
I'll really throw a wrench into this one because I agree with you, Mark. But the bet of the week would be the Niners -4.
Shut up. This is why I think he's an idiot.
Wait, did you say -4?
Or 2.5, whatever it is.
Oh, it's 1.5 currently. I'm seeing it, but yeah.
Great. Take a -3.5. It doesn't matter. You're such a square. I love it, dude. The Rams are going to be the most public bet of the week.
Whatever. The public
teams
wins
that didn't follow what teams that didn't cover last week against teams that did. The Niners fit the mold. The Niners are at home on Monday night, and they're going to be public dogs. I fucking love it. I love it. It's the Niners. Another one.
How often do you just take a bet because it's sharp and then it loses?
Never. Sharp bets.
I don't know. Sharps don't. Do you think the books lose? Dude?
I ask you that, and then I ask you how much are you down?
Touche. Touche, but is that because I'm not sharp, or is that because I get drunk and think about Boise State?
To be fair, if I got drunk, I would be thinking about Boise State as well.
For every time you get drunk and think about Boise State, there's 8 where you're like, this is the sharp play.
I'd just like to say, by the way, that both my bets hit tonight. I had Bengals spread and Bengals team total.
You were not deeped out, Zach Nunez. You were not deeped out. Good on you.
No, my whole thing was that the Bengals defense was going to be able to move the ball really easily because Bengals offense, because Miami's defense played 40 minutes and 92 snaps 4 days ago, and then they had to travel. So they had another full day in which they couldn't rest because they were traveling. So, yeah, there was an easy setup for the Bengals being able to put up points.
Oh, yeah. There is another one, though. It's a battle of, I guess there's 2 more. First, in the battle of Garbaggio coaches, it's the Raiders.
I'm 0 for 3 on the Raiders this year, so I will not be touching them. I've bet them all 3 weeks.
Raiders. I agree with you that, I legitimately, Josh McDaniels, I know Hackett is terrible and whatever. I think Josh McDaniels has proven year in and year out, opportunity and opportunity again, he is the worst. He's not qualified. He's very qualified.
Now that Adam Gase is out,
he's just very good.
It's a pretty open lane. It's an open field now that the king is gone.
And McDaniels stinks, dude. He's a horrible coach.
McDaniels of the Josh variety, not Mike McDaniel. Just clarify.
No, McDaniel, very good. I'm a big fan of what I've seen. McDaniels, bad.
the thing is, especially in Vegas, last year, and I guess the year before, last year they play well. They're playing hard, even after Gruden goes. Because nobody wants to admit it, but Gruden was actually doing good things in Vegas. He was definitely like, I feel like people wanted to play for him, and he had that like players.
He
like
was, but it got so stale, especially last year. But there was a notable difference after he was gone and how the team played. They played.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name? Rich
Bisaccia.
Bisaccia. Yeah.
People liked him, and they got rid of him like a bunch of idiots, and the team sucks. Nobody cares. I hate it. But again, teams that didn't cover against teams that did, it's not the only thing here. Also, is that they're 0-3, and I think it's just they really need this similar to like the Bengals last week against the Jets, where it's like, are they really going to start 0-3 against the Jets? Like, they just absolutely need to win this game if they're at all thinking about play.
It's like the Colts last week.
Yeah.
Or the Titans last week against the Raiders.
I said the same thing about the Raiders last week. So I'm
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the Raiders should be thinking about a playoff spot because they suck, so I don't think it matters.
That's also Browns and Jags money line.
Yeah, Browns.
Just for fun reasons. Also, don't bet dogs to cover. Just bet the money line. The spreads only mattered in 7 games this year. It doesn't matter. Like tonight, it didn't matter. Teams that win and are favored are covering basically every time, and dogs that cover are winning outright. So just
damn, that's so sharp, dude.
You're sharp.
It is.
I'll tell you guys what's sharp. Stop betting. Josh talking about being sharp, and he's betting spreads in the NFL. That's the most square thing ever. I've got DeMarcus Lawrence to have recorded at least 1 sack at -100. The worst offensive line, and
Carson Wentz got sacked 9 times last week.
They have the combination of one of the worst offensive lines and one of the worst quarterbacks for sacks ever in history, human history. All it's going to take is DeMarcus Lawrence to have 1 good snap, and he's just going to it's going to be a sack.
What's the line for Dorrance Armstrong?
Who?
It only gave me Parsons and Lawrence.
Okay.
Parsons was -200, so.
If you want a player prop, give me James Robinson score a touchdown +120.
No.
It's Dorrance Armstrong. It's on DraftKings. Dorrance Armstrong to record a sack is +140.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, just saying.
Love it. Oh, look at that. It is on there. +140.
Yeah.
Good
I might
job,
put a
Austin.
sprinkle on that. Put a little Salt Bay on that.
I'm telling you, I was trying to parlay them. I was trying to do crazy stuff. It won't let me do anything. If you can get any DeMarcus Lawrence 2+ sacks, Parsons 3+ sacks, I'm telling you, hit it. Throw your bank accounts on it. Refunds. I'll give everybody who's listening to this a refund if it doesn't hit.
Fair. It's totally fair. We have to make our picks for the parlay as well, by the way, just so I have that in the noggin. I'm looking at the moment. Looking, right? And I'm seeing a couple of things that I kind of dig. Right? Those couple of things going to be points related, totals, if you will. Like 47.5, the total in the Atlanta-Cleveland game. Both offenses have looked pretty exciting, pretty fun, right? Jacoby Brissett is somehow playing like the best football of his career. Couldn't have really guessed that one coming into the year. Amari Cooper back-to-back 100-yard games. You know, this is Josh. Nick Chubb leading the league in rushing. Again, Austin gave us the best prop bet this side of Kyle Schwarber over 30 home runs. Because that's the fact that I was able to get Nick Chubb over 1,200 yards as his prop is silly to me.
Yeah, If he stays healthy, I mean, he's going to rush for 2,000 yards. So
Yeah, well, I Austin, I told you guys, I might have mentioned it on the episode where you weren't here, Austin, but I had put money down at the beginning of the season at plus 1,200 for him to lead the league in rushing.
Oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
see that. I would have said that. Yeah, that's a great bet.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's pretty hot.
guy's just too good at football, man.
But anyways, I like the under, conversely, in this Atlanta Cleveland game. I think the total's been boosted a little bit because both these teams have been playing pretty all right ball. But I think we might have gone too far as a society. We live in a society, and I think we live in a society where 47.5 points between two teams that I still don't think are very good is probably too high. Conversely, kind of like the same under in the Detroit-Seattle game. It's at 48 right now. The problem is that Detroit can score. They can score the football. And Seattle can score a little bit too. So I won't be touching that one, but I like the Cleveland Atlanta under more. That's the one. That's the one I like. If you want to get wild, Green Bay -9. I mean, this game shouldn't be close in any way, shape, or form against Patriots. So Green Bay -9 could be fun. And then, yeah, I do like the Niners as well. Just want to throw the money line on there, or, be cheeky and take the spread for some stupid reason, then go for that. But my parlay pick for the week is going to be under 47.5 in the Browns-Falcons game.
That's passion for the game right there.
What is everybody else's parlay pick? What I don't remember. Mark only gave one pick, so I'm assuming it's that one. But
I gave two.
Oh, I wasn't. I'm sorry. It's been a long
Who
night.
the Browns play week 1?
The Browns played the Panthers week 1.
What was the score of that game? I believe both teams are 3-0 to the over this year. Not saying it for any other reason. I mean, I very well could go under. I'm just making.
Give me 1 second.
I just don't know.
The score of that game was 26-24.
26-25.
26-24.
Oh,
Their totals so far this year have been 50, 61, and 46.
Yeah, I don't think it did to week 1. I don't know that 50 would have been. I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
And then Atlanta's 3 totals have been 53, 54, or I'm sorry, 53, 64, 50.
Yeah.
I'll do give me the Chiefs money line for my parlay pick.
Balls, yeah, I like it. We'll go Raiders. It's an AFC West party. Money line.
Ooh. Ooh.
Austin, I totally back your decision for DeMarcus Lawrence sack, if that's what you want to do, by the way.
I was thinking that, but I'm thinking about going even crazier here. Because you know what? We already got Raiders money line. You got to get even weirder. Watch this. I'm sharp. Jets Steelers over. 41
I don't
and a
hate
half.
it. I don't hate it. I mean, the Steelers' defense is statistically so much worse without TJ Watt. And what are the Jets game totals so far this year?
Well, I mean, they're totals.
The totals are 33, 61, 49. Those are their 3 totals this year.
Yeah. It's true. Week 1 they just didn't have the offense in sync. Could muster 15 points to hit that over. But
and then Pittsburgh's totals have been 43, 31, and 46.
I'm telling you, the entire universe is on that under. And sports, like Josh knows, are rigged. The book isn't losing. The book's not losing. Listen to me. Jets and Steelers has no business going over, but that's why it's going over.
I love it.
You don't need analytics. You don't need stats. Nothing. You just need to be sharp.
All right.
I like it.
Nunez. What was your pick again, Nunez?
The under in the Browns Falcons game.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is certainly a parlay. We've got Raiders money line, Chiefs money line, under 47.5 in Browns Falcons, and over 41.5 in Jets Steelers. That comes out to plus 1035 on DraftKings. $5 pays out $56.78. So
Free money.
that's free money right there. Book it.
Plus 1183 on Fanduel, by the way.
And I believe the first three that are actually going to hit are all at 1 o'clock, so you can cash out of that Raiders one.
Yeah.
Starts.
That's sharp. That's sharper there. Cashing out is sharp. Right? Okay. Well,
only two of those are at 1 o'clock, by the way.
We have one more thing to get to before we head out, and that's FanDuel for this week. So if one of you guys wants to start and give us your lineups for week 4, go nuts. Go for it.
I have 3% phone battery, so I'll take
Austin,
the
you got
stage
it.
here. First off, I went for a game stack in the game we just watched tonight. I went with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. I mean, there's not much to talk about because it just happened. And then my other game guy was Tyreek Hill. So I had a pretty good night tonight.
Yeah, 10 for 160 from Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then my running backs this week. I like to do this thing with the Denver Broncos where whichever guy got the touchdown last week, I just take the other guy the next week. They seem to do that thing. So Melvin Gordon got in the end zone. Give me Javonte Williams against the Raiders. They still can't stop the run. So I'm fine with that. The next guy I'm going, Swift out for a couple games. Swift banged up. We saw this guy get a lot of work. Seattle, bad team. Could be a good game script. Give me another Williams there for Detroit. 2 Williams in the backfield for me this week. And my third wide receiver, 10 targets in 3 straight games. Got some confidence this last week. CeeDee Lamb built some rapport with the Gold Rush, and he's still only 6,800 for a guy I think is high-end wide receiver 2, low-end 1 at this point right now. So I think that's perfectly fine. Tight end who's only gotten more and more targets every week, David Njoku, in a game that I personally think is going to be high scoring. So it's good that we got the under. But nonetheless, I think he's going to get at least 5, 7 targets. And if your tight end's getting you that, and you're not picking an elite guy, perfectly fine. Who cares? Flex, I think this is going to be a good game script because I think the Eagles' offense is unstoppable. So give me Travis Etienne. I think he'll be up the field more than James Robinson this week. Yeah, I mean, all the advanced nerds are proving to me that Etienne's actually been better all season by pretty much every metric. But the Jags will figure that out along the way. I'm not worried. And then my defense, the first thing I put in this week, the Dallas Cowboys against Carson Wentz. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that needs to be explained. That guy can't avoid a sack. His baby was done to its head.
The Cowboys might have 10 sacks this week.
Yeah. So, love it. Like it.
Bulky.
I got to have it. All right, Mark, Josh, which one are you?
I can go.
Okay.
All right.
So let's get this out of the way. This might be one of the most disgusting stacks you've ever seen. Okay.
Cooper Rush and Noah Brown.
No, it's gonna be the fucking Jamoke from New England.
No, it is
Bailey
not
Zappa.
Brian Hoyer.
Bailey Zappa.
This is the what is this? What's the fucking this is the Kobodo Go Kill Yourself lineup of the week. This is Kobodo Brothers, but yeah. So it's Baker Mayfield and DJ Moore is the stack.
Ooh.
That's what we build around. Arizona's defense is the worst third down defense in the league, and they also are just bad. They're garbage. Running backs, we got Austin Eckler against Houston, and I'm going with the young kid in what could be, my sharp reports tell me it could be a high scoring game in Pittsburgh. Breece Hall and running back. And then with that, I also have CeeDee Lamb in my lineup. He's a cheap option right now, and he's starting to get some chemistry there with old reliable.
Old reliable.
And sadly, it literally pains me. Like putting Stephon Diggs in my lineup, I like my gut. I feel it in my loins, and I hate it. But he's here. Also,
could be
Darren Waller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's that?
I'll wait until you finish. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
You're
Darren
good.
Waller, and lastly, Nunez. I told you, he's gonna go for 1,000 before Deshaun even plays a game. It's Amari Cooper. Finally, they realize that this dude's open on every fucking play. And the Raiders defense, because it doesn't matter, and they're gonna win in a probably low-scoring game. So.
I would say that like this seems like it could be a big Gabe Davis game. I mean, the way the Ravens defense is playing right now, Josh Allen might just be able to take 3 steps, not be touched, and throw it as far as humanly possible against a Ravens defense that is really just liking the Ravens secondary right now. Really likes watching guys run by them at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
True. And he really does like just throwing the ball about 65 times a game. So where is he?
Yeah.
It's Philip Rivers' dog.
Yeah. Mark, what about you? What you got?
Yeah, I'll start with a similarity I have with Josh's team. I also have the Raiders defense. They were somehow the cheapest, at least when I put this lineup together.
Because they suck.
They suck,
let's get that out there. They suck. Yeah.
But so does Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos. We have to remember this.
That's who their best player is this weekend. Russell Wilson.
Like, Russell is putting out TikToks about Subway sandwiches like he's a serial killer. Okay,
Dude, that video was insane.
I'm going to continue to bet against the Broncos, and yeah. So Raiders defense, they were only 3,000, I think. I did have a triple stack, which went into effect tonight. I had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd. Worked out okay. As
silly guy
I had
didn't pick
hoped.
T. Higgins.
Ooh, I took the other guy.
Yeah, I went with the other one. It happens. So that was my triple stack. My 2 running backs, DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny, subject to change if DeAndre Swift isn't healthy for Sunday. Like, that's the main thing, is hopefully he's healthy. If he is, I'll keep him in there. My other wide receiver is Brandon Cooks. Davis Mills has to show us that he can throw a football again at some point.
Excuse me. Why does he have to do that?
He doesn't have to, but I'm really hoping he does. And if he does, it's going to be to Brandon Cooks. So I'm just hoping and praying that the Mills Mafia is right for once.
Mills Mafia. That's good.
My tight end is Kyle Pitts. He had his season high in targets, catches, and yards last week. So maybe the Falcons figured out it's time to throw it to this guy.
It's really weird that they went 0-2 not throwing to him, and then did the reverse of 0-2 when they threw to him. Because their coach told me they were trying to win when they weren't throwing it to him.
It's amazing, isn't it? So I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts. I was going to go with Dallas Goedert to make it 4 straight weeks with Dallas Goedert as my tight end. But Pitts was actually cheaper than Goddard. So I'll take Kyle Pitts. My flex is Derrick Henry. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are, como se dice,
Duke Cheeks.
Thank you.
A classic. We haven't brought that one in a while.
I've been waiting to bring that one back. Colts are horrible, so give me Derrick Henry. And yeah, like I said, Raiders defense. I was hoping it was going to go better on Thursday than it did. Was my big hope for this week.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll make mine pretty quick and easy because I actually have a lot of overlap with you guys. I also went with a game stack for tonight's game. Coincidentally, I went with Joe Burr and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So that went okay. And then I ran it back with Raheem Mostert because I figured that the Dolphins' game plan was going to be to try and run the ball pretty effectively in a game coming out after their defense was on the field for as long as it was on Sunday. And honestly, it kind of was. I mean, Raheem Mostert did have 17 touches tonight. He just turned it into 81 scoreless yards. So, what are you going to do? It was fine, right? Secondary game stack here is purely based off of workload and because my sharps are starting to tell me this game could be pretty high scoring. And that's in the Pittsburgh, New York game. Because I've got Najee Harris as one of my running backs, and I know what you're saying. That's gross. He's been bad. The Pittsburgh offensive line has been bad. Those are true, but he does get a lot of work. He gets the work. This is the way the Steelers work with their running backs. One guy gets all of the touches, and that's what he's doing currently. And in a game where they should be able to put up points a lot, because I'm hearing potential. Najee Harris could fumble into the end zone, not fumble, could stumble into the end zone, and hopefully give me some points there. On the converse, Garrett Wilson. The hope is that Zach Wilson does what he did last year with Elijah Moore and what he was starting to do in the preseason, in that he sticks to Garrett Wilson like a blanket. Garrett Wilson has gotten peppered with targets in the first 3 weeks, and hopefully that continues, even if their efficiency somehow probably goes down from Joe Flacco to Zach Wilson. The workload
could be a pretty high scoring game.
And I hear the game could be high scoring, so maybe Garrett Wilson could score a touchdown. I've got Travis Kelce as my tight end here against Tampa Bay. This dude is a funnel. It's just give him all the targets, right? And that's what he does. And I had the money for it, so I figured, why the hell not? I also got Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is looking like the Monstars gave him his powers back this season, and I know what you're thinking, right? The Giants' offensive line sucks. And it does, kind of. But Saquon is getting all of the work. I believe he's top 5 in receptions by running backs so far this year. And luckily enough, even though the Bears' defense has looked okay through 3 weeks, the run defense hasn't. And this game should be close because neither of these teams are good. So Saquon should be in line for plenty of work. I don't think game script is going to come into effect or anything that'll take him out of it. So Saquon getting all the touches he has. He's been really productive the first 3 weeks. Absolutely love that play as a cash play in DFS this week. And then I got the Raiders defense because it's all I had money for. Defense doesn't matter. And I like the Raiders this week anyways, even though their defense does suck. Like it's a bad defense.
Very.
But yeah, so that's my lineup. Had some overlap, had some fun, right? And yeah, that is it for this week. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to comment on this video. Do that first. Comment first. That's the first thing you should be doing. But after that, you should be liking the video. You should be subscribing to the channel. You should be hitting the notification bell as well. You should be following us on Twitter at HotSoapPod. That's at HotSoapPod on Twitter. You should be following Mark on Twitter at marker_box for Outside the Box Score every Saturday in the morning time somehow or sometime. I'm going to post the list of the movies we're going to be watching for the Hot Stove Halloween special. Is that what I called it? That is what I call it. I'm going to be posting those on Twitter as well, so you can see them, and they're there for eternal viewing. So October starts in just about 24 hours, so be sure to get spooky and start watching.
Are there not 31 days in September?
No. There are 31 days in October. Yeah.
Good to know.
Okay. Yeah. October 1st is Saturday. Yeah.
Yep. Good to
know. Watch those movies, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Hot Soap Podcast.
Peace.